Well, howdy. Welcome back. Normally I say good morning. This time I'll say good evening. It's about 9 p.m. I did another pour today, which I did not do a video on. You're welcome. I had a hard time editing the last one, and I'm a little gun shy for right now, for the moment. But I always come out in the shop about 9 o'clock, somewhere between 9 and 10 o'clock. Fill the wood stove up, make sure it stays warm overnight. Check my work during the day. If I have something like epoxy going, then I'll double check on that, make sure I got no leakages or anything like that. Sometimes I'll pull tape if that's the next thing to be done before the epoxy gets totally hard. It's easier to get the tape off when the epoxy is just firmed up but not fully cured. Tape comes off easier. But I was looking at the other video, the last video I did, which was episode 14, and I started to realize that for those folks that don't know me and don't know what I'm about here and how I go about doing things, that this may seem like I am clueless and don't know what I'm doing, and I'm doing a touch and go as I work through this table, which is not totally inaccurate. To be honest, these are expensive projects, and this particular one was done for a client who, if they haven't seen the videos yet, they probably will at some point. It's important to me that I get them what they wanted. Understand, let me give you some background. You need to understand that the client didn't call me up or send me an email and say, hey, I want you to make me a bar and I want something unusual, and let it go at that. This particular client, or should I say clients, came in my shop, saw this piece of wood, and asked if I would make them a bar out of it, which is a slightly different picture than the email contact. And we discussed it, and they've been involved in the project and chose the legs we're going to use on it, and we talked about features, and they've stopped in to check on the progress from time to time. They're not looking over my shoulder and telling me how to do it. They're just, telling me what they like, which is all I need to know. And I want to make the client happy. Now, if you go on YouTube and you look for river tables or epoxy tables or any of that stuff, you'll see a lot of these guys and gals that go out there and, they cut up this wood they use, and they lay it out, and they build a big frame around it, and they dump in 1-2 gallons of epoxy at a shot, and it looks all magically wonderful in no time flat. And then you look at what I'm doing here and say, what is this guy waiting for? Why does he keep doing these layers? Why is it, taking so long? My gosh, he's already up to 14 videos and he's not done yet. Well, the truth is, first of all, I am not Joe Expert. Second of all, I don't have deep pockets. Third of all, I am not going to soak my clients for money they don't need to spend on materials. So I'm very careful with this stuff. This epoxy material runs anywhere between $70 and $140 a gallon. That's a lot of money when you figure that I've already probably got, between the stuff that I poured in and sanded off and poured in and sanded off, just filling cracks, I have to think about it really hard and do some numbers, but I think I've probably got close to 2 gallons in it now. And I'm sure I'll be there when I get it done, maybe a little over. But it's kind of long, and I do it a little bit at a time. If you make a mistake, the frame that you made has a little pinhole leak, and boy, this stuff will find a pinhole quicker than you can spit. And it leaks out overnight. You come in the next morning, you got a hard as a rock puddle on the floor that you can't chip off with a hammer and a chisel, and you've got nothing on your table. So those mistakes are expensive, and I made one or two small ones, and that was enough for me to know, take your time. So I do it a little at a time. The clients don't come to me and expect to get, this isn't Walmart or Amazon. You don't get stuff from me in a week. As I said, the client saw this table. Well, I've had this wood over almost 4 years now. The client saw the table, I think, a year and a half ago. Maybe it's getting close to 2 years now. They are not in a hurry. What they are looking for is an object or a piece that they want in their home. And I'll be doggone if I'm going to give them a piece of junk or something that has apologies that go along with it. So, and I also don't want to charge them crazy money. Um, or like this one, it's done, might go for $6 grand. I'm not charging $6 grand. Um, my time, yes. If I was trying to get my time, I'd probably be up at $6 grand in a New York minute. But the point is, what I'm trying to say here is, I work a little differently. It works for me. It may not work for you. If you want to be, some super duper YouTuber, social media influencer, you go right ahead and do what you got to do. Knock yourself out. Get yourself some epoxy sponsors that'll send you stuff by the case. But for me, I cringe every time I have to fill that invoice for another gallon kit of epoxy. It's expensive. This is coming out real nice. It's going to look gorgeous. The client's going to be very happy, I believe. If nothing else, I'll be happy that I did a really good job. If you can see the table from my angle right now, and I plan on doing another pour tomorrow morning because it's coming along good. And yes, I do make changes in my decisions. I do say I'm going to do one thing, and then the next day when I look at it, I decide to do something else. Doing it in small steps allows me to do that. And in the long run, it probably saves me some time, even though I may spend more calendar days working on it. I spend less hours working on it with my own hands. So it's looking real sharp. It's coming out nice. And I just wanted to take and do a short video on what my philosophy is and how I do these things. It's not about making money for me. I need to, make some money to keep the shop going and pay my bills and buy beer and stuff like that. But it's about, when something goes out of my shop and goes into somebody's home, it better be right. And if it's not right, then I'm not happy, and I will take it back and fix it. And I have done that a few times when wood moved, things cracked, glue joints loosened up. I stand by my work. I can't say that I know that about all these folks that just buy several gallons of epoxy, make something that looks good. And frankly, I gotta wonder how long that stuff's gonna last. Is it gonna be a 50 to 100-year legacy item that travels through a family, or is it gonna be something that lasts for 10 or 15 years and then it's got some cracks, it's looking weird, it's starting to wobble, and they move on to some other piece. Well, if you can afford that, fine, but I don't have any pieces that look this good in my own home. So I want to make sure when I put something in somebody else's home that it looks as good as it can possibly look. So that's my philosophy. That's why it takes so long. I also mix all my work up. So, for instance, as I mentioned in the last video, no, actually I didn't mention in the last video. Yeah, I guess I did. Sorry. If I had a good editor, I'd cut that out. Yesterday I did a pour in the morning. The phone rang. I had an opportunity to go get mushroom logs, which is another part of my business. So I cleaned up what I was done with, and I jumped in the truck, and I went out and I was running a chainsaw and loading logs and filling my truck up, and came back 4 or 5 hours later. So my day is full. I don't need to continuously work to get projects done. I just spread them out over time and mix in with other stuff. As I told you before, I always have backup projects that I'm working on that are upstairs that the excess epoxy goes on. You know, I have other projects I'm thinking about or developing, customers that are, you know, calling and trying to make appointments to do other stuff. I'll be doing a land consult job on Saturday, so I will be out of town for, you know, from early in the morning till late in the afternoon. So that day is gone. So you know, there's a lot of things to do, and I haven't even started sawmilling yet because the sawmill's still down. Once the sawmill goes back up, I'll be down there a couple hours most days of the week except bad weather. So I'm a busy guy, and I only need to work on this, you know, half an hour a day, and keep it moving forward, and that's why it takes so long. So yeah, I do it in pieces. I do it in stuff I can control. I do it in sections that I can fix if something goes wrong. Fixing a disaster is not only a lot of labor, it's also somewhat demoralizing to have a catastrophe. You have the loss of support materials, in this case probably epoxy, and you have the loss in time, plus all the labor, sorry there's the phone, all the labor that goes into you know, doing that repair to get it back to where it was before you try and do it again the right way. So that's why I do things in phases and layers, and it also seems to be more acceptable to the wood that I'm working with, that I don't jump on it all at once and dump a bunch of stuff on it and expect miracles. I let the wood kind of come along and become a partner. When I did a pour today, I had one dot right here, and for 45 minutes that thing bubbled up gas that came from deep within the wood. And I just kept standing here and popping the bubble every time it came up for 45 minutes. Finally I gave up and said, well, at this point it's got to be mostly full, and I'll just deal with it tomorrow when it hardens up. But now I can't even tell you where that bubble was because it completely healed itself in the epoxy. I think one more pour on this will level it out, and that's probably where we're going to leave it. But I did want to explain about the philosophy, why I have all these videos, why I talk so much, why, you know, why we're doing all these little things and all this detail work. I'm going to hit this tray again because I'd like it to look better, and I did a bunch of sanding on that today. So it's all going to come out nice. It's all a lot of work, but when it's done and the clients get it, and perhaps they have a party coming up and they might invite me down, obviously people are going to find out that I made it. I don't have to make excuses. I can just sit there and smile and say, yeah, that was me. I hope you like it. And that's that. So, word of explanation, today's pour's looking good. I won't walk you around and give you the detailed stuff. I already talked too much, but I did feel that I needed to say that. So, you all take care. See you on the next one when I get my video editor figured out and I have something worthwhile showing. Oh, look, there's another dot. This is why I come out here at 9 o'clock at night and check on things. We'll catch you down the road. Bye-bye.